Welcome back to the Transplaining Podcast. My name is Bear, joined by the lovely Daphne.
Thank you. I keep wanting to say I'm glad to be here, but it's our podcast.
It's your yeah.
I mess it up every time, I swear. Um, Real quick before we kind of dig in today, we just had something that we wanted to kind of put out there. There was the shooting that happened in Minneapolis 2 days ago, and we just wanted to put a little statement out there saying that our hearts are heavy today. We grieve for the lives lost and for everyone affected by yesterday's 2 days ago's tragedy. No words can capture the pain of the families, friends, and communities forced to endure this kind of violence. We want to be clear. Moments like this are about honoring the victims and supporting those who are hurting, not about weaponizing identities or turning grief into political attacks. Violence is never the fault of a whole community. Blaming transgender people or any group for the actions of one individual only deepens division and distracts from the healing that is needed. Let's stand together in compassion, mourn the lives lost, and commit ourselves to creating a world where tragedies like this never happen again.
Amen.
Yeah, thank you. So, that being said, we're just going to move on from that. Today, our special guest is one I've been excited for. I've been looking forward to this for a while, and I'm kind of going to let them introduce themselves. That being said, today we have Dr. Kristine Coons, who is, it says MN. What does MN stand for? Medical
What is it?
something? I don't know. You sent it to me.
What did I send to you?
You
Oh my
said
God.
I'm a MN internal medicine doctor.
Oh, I am an internal medicine
Oh, it's
doctor.
just a misspell. Okay,
Hold
well
on.
you're
Oh
an
my God.
internal you're an internal medicine doctor practicing.
Internal medicine.
You know
I'm
what? I'm
practicing
gonna
as
let
Internal
you
medicine.
introduce
Yeah,
yourself.
I'll
Let's just
just
go
start
that
with
way.
that. Yeah. So I'm Dr. Kristine Coons. I'm an osteopathic physician. I am board certified in internal medicine. I practice as a hospitalist in my local area, and I do a lot of advocacy work across the country. I work within my healthcare system for the advancement of LGBTQIA individuals, especially the intersex population and community. And then I also work with a couple of universities and national organizations, and I've even talked to a couple of international organizations too.
Awesome. And my understanding is that you're one of the leading medical researchers on this in the country. Is that right, or is that what?
That's kind of I try to be careful with that nomination and title because it kind of it's intimidating to me.
Fair?
I come from rather humble backgrounds, but a lot of people do come to me with a lot of questions, and they have come to me and said that I'm one of the few people doing what I'm doing. And so as a consequence of that, I'm like, well, I will accept that tentatively because I have to be careful with saying like, oh my gosh, let my ego get too big or my head get too big.
Right.
My wife would come along with a pen and pop that bubble really fast.
Fair enough. Well, we have the humble doctor with us today.
So humble.
Self-acclaimed humility. um, you have all these different backgrounds and expertises that you share in, but you also mentioned that you specialize in inter. I don't know the intersexuality. Would that be the right way to say that?
That's one way. The intersex individuals, I really want to make
I
sure
like
that we
that.
talk about the individual themselves. They just happen to be
Right.
intersex. And one of the interesting components of what I'm doing is how do we approach this topic in such a way that engages the individual but helps them medically in the long run as well. So it's kind of this whole recognition of using terms, language that is accessible to everyone. That's easier said than done. So with all these discussions and focus groups and interactions with physicians and providers, there's a lot of people behind the scenes that are doing a lot of work for these communities.
Right. And one of the things I like about it is you were mentioning intersex individual, and that's something that I'm telling people quite often is that for trans people, A lot of people say, "Oh, well, I've met a trans before," and I'm like, "Don't take the humanity away from us. It's a trans person, trans female, trans woman. Don't take the humanity away." So instead of making it intersexuality, making it sound like a sexuality, we're bringing it back to being a person. I like that a lot better.
I do too. There's been a long-standing history of a lot of harm in the medical world in approaching LGBTQIA plus individuals. I mean, really, if we look back at like Dr. Money, the 1970s, and even way before that,
Right.
the hierarchy, the social structures were intended to maintain the boundaries between quote unquote male and female. And we cemented a lot of things in medicine to maintain those hierarchies and structures. And that caused a lot of harm to a lot of different people. And trying to readdress those, reframe those, navigate this course of transitioning from an outdated, incorrect, and harmful model to something that is better and allow it to engage forward so that it evolves and as we learn more and more and more is a daunting task.
That's fair. um, so real quick, would you mind if we kind of backed up a step and before
Sure.
digging into the scientific side of it, if we
On the
backed up a
nurse
little
side,
bit and just
yeah,
hear a little
watch out.
bit.
I can get going and really get going. So,
Well, that's
yeah,
good because I am not an expert in this field by any means. I can put a band-aid on. And so what I'd like to do is maybe back up a little bit and just hear some of your story, if that's okay.
yeah, sure. So, I grew up in Washington State. I kind of traveled around the country with my parents, moving from different state to different state. Kind of forced, kind of not. It was a lot of things going on in my youth that we were involved with politically and with the medical world. My next older brother, who is actually my half brother, was contracted HIV at a very young age from a blood transfusion. My family is a family of bleeding disorder, hemophilia, and the hemophilia community was really significantly affected by the pandemic, the HIV pandemic, early in the 80s. And my brother contracted through a transfusion HIV after a tonsillectomy. And so our growing up period experience was centered around that. My brother was always constantly going back to the National Institute of Health to get studies done, to test medications, and everywhere in between. And eventually, my parents decided to be more vocal about the situation that we were in, about the hardships, the debts that we were taking on, the ostracization of us and these communities that were affected at the time. And during that era, it was like, no, this is God's disease to punish all these individuals. And
Yeah.
that harmful rhetoric that happened for somebody like my next older brother who passed away in 1992 as a consequence of this. So my parents opened up, they became very vocal, and we were in newspapers, and we were even on 60 Minutes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's actually an episode, you can see me actually playing the violin, not well. My brothers are there as well, and my brother Michael is there too. And so you can actually look us up. You can actually YouTube us and see my family. And I'm actually very grateful for my parents. After my brother passed away, we didn't mourn very well. We didn't do a good job of processing everything that had just happened.
Yeah.
And so that's part of the reason why we moved so much, is because of that. Now, in the midst of all that, I'm growing up with gender dysphoria. So at a very early age, I think my earliest recollections of gender dysphoria is about 7 or 8 years of age, if not sooner. I think it was probably about 6. And seeing all this stuff that was going on with my parents, I really tried hard to lay low, or at least pretend to lay low. I was caught cross-dressing a few times.
Right.
My parents, when I opened up to my parents years later, they're like, yeah, we kind of knew. Then
There were
They,
signs.
there are signs, and they actually talked to. I do remember this conversation that they talked to a couple of doctors, and they said, "Oh no, this is just a phase. They'll get through this." I do go by she, her.
Okay, that's good to
And,
Right.
preface.
Yeah.
it blew my mind. So here I am under the slide, pretending like I'm hiding very well, and then I get caught a few times and get yelled at, um, which only made me want to hide even more, or at least work harder to hide even more.
Right.
And so I grew up as the good kid. I was always the one that was wanting to achieve, and that was actually my coping mechanism, was to overwork myself, to be very strict and regimented, and that continued on through undergrad. So yeah, growing up with gender dysphoria and my coping mechanism and being the good kid. So I did my best to get like good grades. I started working pretty much at age 14, started driving right away, and went off into college. And I got majored in food science with minors in chemistry and business, with the intent to go off into medical school. So I went straight from undergrad into medical school. From there, went right off into residency program in Dayton, Ohio. And I loved residency because I worked my butt off. And
That's not
that was
something
my,
you hear every day.
yeah, no, it was hard work. It was insane, but I loved it because I didn't have to think about anything else. It was like 6, 7 days in a row, working, get home, crash, take, sleep, then repeat, rinse, lather, repeat. I
Right.
hated downtimes. I hated vacations. I hated all that stuff because I didn't want to face the reality of me having gender dysphoria.
Okay.
So what I ended up doing was I moonlighted on the side. So for my second and third year of residency training, I did moonlighting. So not only did I do the residency training, but I would actually work at an urgent care clinic out in Salina, Ohio, some podunk little city, which is cute in of itself. And um, I would do that, come home, crash for about 4 or 5 hours, then get back up and go back to work. And my third year, I was the chief resident. And the very first day that I get into that position, the program director comes up to me and says, Dr. Coons, we are working to combine the MD and the DO programs. We have to rewrite the entire residency program. Are you up to the task? And if you want to step out now, now's your chance.
Wow.
So I relished that on top of everything else, because not only did I have the responsibilities of being the chief resident and teaching all the residents, I was moonlighting on the side and then also doing the core rotations for my program.
That is so
Wow.
much.
That is a
It was
lot.
insane, like I said. So at the end of 2014, March 2014, I started like planning for the future. Like, where were we moving? Where were we going after all is said and done? And then it hit me like all this structure that I built around myself to maintain my quote unquote sanity was going to disappear. What on earth was I going to do with my mind? And I sat down, and I was actually in the kitchen, and I'm like, I have to tell my wife, oh my gosh, I need help. I need help with this. Scariest moment of my entire life was sitting down and telling my wife, I have gender dysphoria.
Right. I mean, there's so much
Mhm.
unknown. How they're going to react and what are the implications going to be.
So I sat down with her in the living room, and I was shaking like a leaf. I was so nervous because you read the stories about everyone, separating, and that was the stories that we kept on hearing in 2014. I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
She listened. She was patient. And she said the first thing that she regretted doing was going on Google
Oh
and reading about
no. Good Google.
it. And I the first thing I really wanted to impress on her is the importance of our relationship. And I think that was one of the things that has kept us going is the communication that we've had back and forth about feelings and our relationship and the things that we're doing together. We've been married since 2003, and we're still married through all the transition process and things like that. And we always thought that we were just kind of the unique couple in the midst of all this until we started talking to more and more people. And there's a
Yeah.
ton of them out there. But it's one of those where we tell people that our experience is unique, it's different than other people's, that our experience cannot always relate or transition to other people's as well.
Right.
So even though we are working through this process, it's not perfect. There have been rough roads in the midst of all this. But yeah, they're out camping right now and they should be back sometime later today.
Well, and I love this though because it offers hope, right? Not everybody ends up with that same experience where they get to stay together, but it offers hope that there may be a chance, and I think how you approach it may make a big difference with it, but I mean, maybe this offers hope for some people.
Yeah, and she was able to open up about her bisexuality and communicate that with me and said, I actually get to dive into this part of myself that was repressed when I was growing up, and I'm allowed to now explore it and be. And it feels a lot more comforting from her perspective. And then from my perspective, I have never felt more free in my entire life.
Right.
So I decided after, I told my wife in 2014 that I was just going to take this whole entire process super slow. That I was going to navigate this process and just take it one step at a time. I wasn't going to push for anything drastic or straight away. But I did start on hormone therapy in late 2014. And the funny thing with hormones, it's kind of hard to hide the side effects. There's a
Yeah.
there's a couple of funny experiences that I had at the hospital because I started wearing sports bras and compression shirts and stuff like that. And
Right.
I'm doing rounds, and one of the nurses comes up to me and says, "Dr. Coons, you should get your hormones checked." And in my mind, I didn't say anything at the moment, but in my mind, I'm like, I do regularly.
Regularly.
There was another time I was working at the VA hospital, and a nurse comes up to me and kind of touches my back right at the bra line. And
Busted.
again, they didn't say anything, but it was kind of like coming over and pat your back sort of thing.
Right.
Like, hey, how's it going? And in the back of my mind, I'm like, yep, that's what that is.
That's funny. Like I went through the airport. I had to go on a work trip, whatever. I think it was out to like Alabama or something like that, right? So I jump on, or I go into the airport in, I don't know, Idaho or something like. I don't know. Anyway, the point is, I got I think it was Phoenix. I got into the airplane or got into the airport, and they go have you walk through the scanner and everything.
Oh, yeah.
And it first calls out. It goes, "Hey, there's a mistake." Down south. And I'm like, yes, of course there is. Of course there would be a mistake. Like, how affirming is the little detectors at the airport? But then after that, I land, whatever, I do all my work stuff. I go take the flight back, and on the flight back, the machine detector goes off. It says, hey, there's a problem up top. And so the guy's like, hey, we're going to have to check everything. So you just see this guy. He comes up, he's doing a little pat down, and he gets to that spot in the back, and he feels the bra, and he gives me that, oh.
It happens so regularly. We were just on a flight and to Hawaii, and it's just kind of the same sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So because I took it slow, I think I also struggled emotionally with that.
Yeah.
The pandemic didn't help that much either, and in 2022, I got actually pretty close to taking my life and decided afterwards to fully transition. And it was one of those things for me I woke up the next morning after making that decision of fully transitioning. I walked into the living room and it was just one of those things where I had this moment of epiphany, like listening to the silence. I'm going, where's the noise? Where's the noise in my head that I'm used to hearing constantly
Right.
about transition, don't transition, you're not supposed to feel this way, you're not supposed to be this way. And allowing myself to be was, it felt incredible. Like all this weight disappeared just from my determination to transition. And so I
Can I
transitioned.
can I ask a question real quick?
Sure.
You said that you started hormones back in 2014, and
2014.
those were going up. It sounds like there was no other any kind of transition all the way through 2022.
2022.
Right. And so that's 8 years on hormones that nothing else changed except your body changing, right? But then you made a comment about fully transitioning. And can you explain what you mean by that? Because fully transitioning would mean different things for different people, right?
That's a fair statement. I changed my name in June 2022. And then I got on the surgery list and bottom surgery and facial surgery afterwards.
Ooh.
Yeah, that was actually last year.
Well,
So
you're
I
still
had
gorgeous. I love it.
oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
I actually had my follow-up appointment, my 1 year, just a couple weeks ago. And yeah, it was interesting. My first pelvic exam, that was not intimidating. Because I've done those to other people, and they're not very happy with what I did to them. So I wasn't particularly enthused with having it done to me. So
Welcome to the
welcome.
club.
So I'm sure that everyone was looking at like this. Everyone in the back of my mind that I've done a pelvic exam to, they're like, "Yeah, payback."
Fair
That was
enough.
deserved.
Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and break it here, I think. Unless there's more about your story that you'd like to talk about.
Um, when just a little bit more. Um,
Yeah, no problem.
when I was diving into a little bit more about myself, trying to this self-discovery, I really wanted to like start working in the genetic aspect of this, like human development, embryology, and this is going to segue into other topics and stuff like that as well. But
Okay.
I did a whole bunch of genome testing on myself and just really started to understand a little bit more about my makeup from different people. And when I started doing that, I realized that I wasn't just trying to explain myself.
Right.
If I was going to try and explain myself how I came to be, I needed to extrapolate that to everyone. And when I started looking at the literature that I had accessible to me at the time, it was not enough. What we use in our textbooks and a lot of different schools and even medical schools, it's not enough to describe everything that's going on in the world in terms of humans, their development and genetic makeup. And so I found out that I have Kalman syndrome.
What's that?
Oh, it's a
For
fun.
for the people
So,
that didn't graduate from Harvard.
the Kalman syndrome is related to another one that's called congenital hypogonadotrophic hypogonadism.
That made it
Try
easier.
saying that 10 times fast. And yes, you have to go through 4 years of medical school just to pronounce it. CHH for short. So I found out that in terms of my hormone levels, when I got tested before starting hormone therapy, they were super low. I
Right.
know that actually happens to a lot of different people, but I also found out that I have a decreased ability to smell. My bones developed weird and my nerves developed weird. And I found out that this gene mutation, this gene variation that I carry is called, it's on the gene FGFR1. We don't need to go into detail about what that is, but yeah, it basically helps explain a little bit about myself. And what that opened doors of is like, oh my gosh, I want to learn everything about this.
Yeah.
And this segued me into looking into the intersex community, understanding the intersex community, helping the intersex community, and by extension, the gender diverse community as well.
I love that.
So here I am with that.
I love that because then there's a personal connection to it, and so it's more than just work, and it's more than just keeping yourself busy. It's also a labor of love because you connect to it.
That's the thing I love about this is, yeah, and you'll probably hear that intensity in my voice. I'm like, this is so cool. I am such a nerd with this, and I love it.
I got so many things running through my mind right now. Oh, I love it. I love it. Um. Well,
I'm kind of nerding out too because I kind of understand the medical terms. I did I got my MA, and I did try to go the medical route, and I too wanted to be a doctor of internal medicine, and I ended up taking a different route. So what you're saying, kind of okay, yeah. There's like 6 words I don't understand, but I definitely have at least heard of some of what you're saying. And so,
Sure.
yeah.
I heard the letter CHH. I've known that.
See,
Yeah. I can pronounce that.
there's a couple of them medical terms that I just love saying. And phenoxybenzamine is just a fun one just to say, just because it's used to treat, it's a medicine used to treat pheochromocytoma, which is extremely rare. Don't ever run into, ordering catecholamines and things like that. Serratia marescens. Okay, fine.
I clearly didn't graduate.
Serratia marescens is a type of bacteria, and the reason why I like that one is because marescens is related to the maricin cherries.
What?
The cherries that you put on top of ice cream.
Yeah.
Maricin.
I thought they were maraschino.
Maraschino?
Oh,
Is that not how you pronounce it?
I could just be extrapolating from the maricins from the bacteria and just pronouncing it incorrectly. Maraschino cherries? Yeah. The term is related just because of the color.
I didn't know if you were
Wow.
pulling my leg there for a second.
No, they're related to each other. Not related in terms of like they're going to infect you through these cherries, but the name is the same.
I'm picturing the guy going, I discovered the cherry.
Oh my god. Oh no. Oh no.
Now, I can imagine everybody's like, I'm going to double check that. We're
You know
gonna
what? Google that shit. Google it.
Gosh darn it.
Google
But
never
that's how I
lies.
actually remember it. That's how I remember it, by the way. So they may not be really related, but no.
I love it. I love it. Let's go ahead and pause here for a part one, whatever. We're going to come in for a part two, and this is where we're going to dig into the science and really get into the fun part where you get to nerd out. And so this is where it's just going to become fun. And the thing is we're going to dig into the science behind both intersex people, individuals, right? But maybe we'll just say gender identity and all of it.
All of it.
Yeah, and let's dig into it and see if science is crazy, or I don't know. We'll take it from there. We'll see how it goes. Anyway, check in for part two.
Check in for part 2.
All right.